Welcome to this Birmingham versus Reading tactical analysis. In this video, we'll be looking at two teams that are battling for relegation and the tactics that they're using to try and minimize risk. If you want to support the channel, please give us a like, it goes a really long way. And with that, let's get into the analysis. Starting with Birmingham City, their tactics centered around their set pieces. So we're thinking of anything where they have total control of the ball. So whether that's goal kicks, throw-ins, free kicks, corners. Excluding corners, they would typically try and use those set pieces to hit spaces where they had a lot of players. Okay, so in this scenario, Birmingham City, as they did throughout most of the game, used Ramsey's goal kicks to progress up the pitch. You could count on one hand when they played it short. Reading typically set up in a 4-1-3-2 against those long goal kicks, with Van Havermeet as the shield in front of the back line. Despite the defensive header by Reading, Birmingham are not cowed, and they have Smith to lead this line in this very narrow 4-2-3-1 off the goal kick, with both of their wide midfielders almost within 10 or 15 yards of each other on the side that they've taken the kick towards. So there's simply no opportunity of switching the ball out to this. To counter this, as we mentioned, Van Havermeet, the CDM, she would typically try and screen, whilst either side of her you'd have Eichland and Woodham as the other centre midfielders, and just ahead of them would be Chaplin. So they were very happy to narrow the pitch as well. Further to Van Havermeet's role, whenever Birmingham tried to play the ball down a channel, then Van Havermeet would cover out to that side and try and support the fullback against the wide midfielder and fullback of Birmingham City. The main reason I included this play was because it actually worked out really well for Birmingham City in this case. So I think of this as an exemplary occasion. Birmingham City are able to retain the ball with Quinn, their CAM, and she pulls out wide and passes the ball back to Finn. Finn, who originally was the right back, but eventually becomes the right midfielder in the second half. Whilst you have Robertson dropping to provide a short option centrally for Finn. And Robertson's midfield partner here, Murray, pushes up from centre midfield into more of a CAM position, so she can potentially support the attack. And note, the left midfielder is still very narrow. Woodham tries to press but doesn't cover the pass back into Quinn, and so Quinn is able to receive the ball beyond the Reading pressure. And with that, Birmingham City try to progress it towards Smith, who's dropped a little bit deeper, whilst beyond her you have Whelan making a run in behind. Evans, tracking Smith, makes the next pass into Whelan a little bit slow so that she's not able to progress up the line and get into a crossing position. I'm not really sure how to conceptualize this one. Should you just call it a kick and rush? I've called it counterattacks here, but only because of how direct Birmingham play. What they're looking for is to try and contest those second balls off the long goal kicks or whatever set piece they've used to move the ball into Reading's half. So in this scenario, we have the long goal kick with Reading set up in their 4-1-3-2 again, with Van Havermeet as your defensive screen, with Cooper pushing up to provide the defensive header. Again, the Birmingham players are all very close to each other so that they can potentially contest the ball, and you've got Murray looking to try and support again. So Cooper's header goes towards Harding. She takes a slightly poor touch, and that allows Whelan to nip in and put in that pressure that Birmingham City are looking to try and make tell in Reading's half. And of course, they immediately try and hit Smith, who's running in behind. This might be part of the reason why I consider them counter-attacks. So in the second half, Reading go ahead within the first 5 minutes, and then they soon make it 2-0. At that point, Birmingham City decide that they're going to start playing, so they're a lot more aggressive with their pressing, as well as also getting fullbacks into supporting positions too. So as mentioned earlier, we now have Finn, who was originally the right back, now playing as a right midfielder, with Scott, who originally was the left back, moving over to a right back position. In this scenario, Quinn has just dribbled down this right hand channel. She's tried to cross it, but it's been blocked, and now Harding is looking to clear the ball. Harding's clearance is more up than out. Scott, the left back, now right back, is in a position to try and control the ball, and she then tries to play it into Quinn. And from Scott's pass, Quinn, being aware of her surroundings and the fact that Havermeet is right on her tail, plays the ball immediately into Robertson, who is more central. But again, note how high the right back is. Reading in their 4-1-3-2 with Van Havermeet as the CDM and Chaplin as the CM, but dropping deeper to help support, try and cover across. And Robertson looks to try and pass the ball out wide to the left back, because just as earlier in the game, the wide midfielders for Birmingham City are really narrow. So Holloway, the left back, make a supporting run and get into the box after passing it out to Whelan, wide midfielder. Whilst Holloway is making that run, you have Scott, the right back, moving to a left forward position. Okay, so Robertson that we saw earlier dropping deeper in the channel to try and provide an option for Birmingham to be able to retain that ball in the channel, now makes an underlapping run to try and attack the space that Holloway and Whelan have created with their runs. The ball is just a little bit long, and now we see Scott, the right back, picking up the ball in the left half space. A cross is blocked, but this is a good example of how much more attacking their fullbacks were and how much more flexible they were with their formation. So on to Reading, who played a 3-4-3 or a 2-1-4-3 deep, or a 3-4-3 in midfield. The 3-4-3 formations just had Van Hervermaet, the centre midfielder, drop to become a central centre-back. Regardless of whether it was a 3-8 at the back or a 2 at the back, with Van Hervermaet just slightly ahead in the CDM role, Reading generally looked to try and play long ball into the channels for their forwards in Rose and Dowie to chase, or they would look to passes through the lines into Woodham or Eichland, who would have dropped to play in line with Chaplin. Dowie and Rose didn't both always run in behind, sometimes one or the other would drop deeper too, against Birmingham City's 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2 defensive shape, typically not pressing or putting much pressure till Reading reached the halfway line, with Quinn expected to support the Birmingham City fullbacks versus the wing-backs of Reading. With Reading's formation and the movement of their wide centre midfielders and centre attacking midfielder, they were able to create crossing opportunities, and because of their formation, it meant that often they would have 4 forwards in the box. So we can see that here in this scenario. So we have Chaplin receive the ball from a throw-in, with both of the centre forwards for Reading narrow on that left-hand side. Chaplin's quick feet allow her to evade the pressure from Robertson and get the ball out to Rose, who's in that wide channel looking to try and exploit this space. And then far side, you've got Dowie and Eichland trying to get in the box for a cross. On this occasion, Rose's cross is pulled between the forwards that Reading get into the box, but it gives you an idea of just how many players Reading look to get in the box for those crosses and how aggressive their wing backs as well could be. So as mentioned earlier, generally Birmingham City didn't really press that much. They looked to try and press in a 4-1-3-2 shape so that Van Hervermaet could be picked up by Quinn or Murray. But due to Birmingham City's style of play, this very direct style, constantly looking for Smith to make runs in behind, it did mean that the ball would often turn over to Reading without the opportunity arising for Birmingham to press. I had to include this example because Reading were able to pass through Birmingham City's press and use the athleticism, the drive of their fullback to get up the pitch and get into an attacking position. So in this occasion, Reading play it quickly from the centre-back into Bryson, with Whelan looking to press the full-back immediately. And beyond Whelan, we have Scott behind her trying to press Eichland, but Bryson isn't sitting on her laurels. She's making a run from full-back into the space vacated by the movement of Eichland. So Eichland's able to turn and fire the ball forwards, up the line towards Dowie, and all the while the Reading right-back Bryson is still making her way up the pitch to support the attack. And here we see Reading reap the rewards of Bryson's run from deep as Birmingham scramble to get back. Note, this is Birmingham City's centre-back Sandbedge and the deepest lying centre midfielder Murray, with tons of space in behind them. Eventually this attack fizzles out, but this is a really great example of Reading progressing the ball up the pitch with their fullbacks, following the play, but then also Birmingham City's more aggressive press in the second half. And then you have to mention Reading set pieces, which were quite elaborate, and it was really unfortunate that none of them came off, but they were very slick and just kind of stumbled on the final pass. And that covers the Birmingham City versus Reading game. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, it goes a very long way. And with that, we're out.